Hello, it's Elise from Your Move here. It's been a hot minute since I've done one of these. And in true, 2023 fashion, I haven't got around to actually making a live recording or inviting everyone into this meeting. We're just going to do it. I'm just going to record it. I'm going to send it out. But I think it's pretty special. So let me see if I can share my screen. Oop, not that one. All right, let's try again. A window. Yep, that'll do. All right, so we're in Canva for my Goal Getting 2023 workshop. Now, I know what you're going to say. At least we talked about this. You said that you weren't going to do goal getting anymore, and I agree, which is why, let me just, you'll see in a minute anyways. All right, so if I present full screen, let's try this. Ugh. All right, here's hoping for the best. All right, let's see how we go. Peace off. Okay. So instead of goal getting this year, let's consider intentional change 2023. So instead of, it's just thinking about what we want to do differently. So if goals don't do it for you, if they're not very motivating, if they seem too rigid and short term, but you're still here wanting to create change, this is what I would call it, and see how it sits for you. So it's not just changing, but it's actually intentionally putting thought into, putting actions into creating the desired result. Have I just given you the dictionary definition of a goal? I don't know. Let's see, see how it feels for you. Now, this hasn't changed. My name is Elise. I still like dogs. I still get a kick out of memes, and I have an affinity to rocks. Nothing's changed. I'm still the same person. Now, I just want to take you back to, because I've done these workshops every year in various forms. In 2020, it was me and a laptop and a group of women sitting down on the floor, all watching my laptop give out a PowerPoint presentation on goals. Now, this was, 3 years ago? And I tried really hard to differentiate between process and outcome goals. I was like hooked on making people understand what goals were and the differences between like what a good goal was and what a bad goal was, SMART goals. And it was too technical. People don't care about, the difference between a goal and an outcome. Is whatever they call it. And funnily enough, when we talked about contingency planning, so what to do when, shit hits the fan, and risk management, what we didn't account for in January 2020 was that in 2 months' time, there'd be a pandemic that shut down the entire country. And a lot of people's well-intentioned goals just didn't come to fruition because we did not pick pandemic for 100. So in 2021, it changed a little bit. I changed a little bit in 2020. I had a lot of time to myself. I watched a lot of Manifest, and I watched a lot of border security on YouTube. And I also did a lot of education because, well, I was bored and scared and desperate. So what I started learning was more towards how important value-based goals were. So not just having a goal, but like having a reason for the goal, making sure that reason is congruent. And I'm going to go through that in a little bit. I tried to define between open and specific goals, and that was quite clear. I like open goals where like you're not just bound by a specific date, because for a lot of people that's also not very motivating. Different questions to ask yourself if what is my goal doesn't work. So I started dabbling in the idea that not everyone enjoys focusing on goals, but for whatever reason still wants to change. How does that happen? But again, I just presented way too much detail about how to set goals, and it was just too much. So, I do recognize where I've kind of fallen short in the past. And again, still trying and failing to define between goals and objectives. Again, at least nobody cares. And then last year, it started getting a lot better as well, even better than 2021, a hell of a lot better than 2020. So I continue to shit all over SMART goals. I'm not a big fan of SMART goals as they are because they're just not enough. and you'll see in a second. I presented my endgame principles because I developed those. So it's my philosophy of like how you should be going about change. And now this year, we're just going to keep it simple. We're not going to get bogged down by terminology and processes. I just want you to understand the idea of how change can be successful and different words you can give it depending on what's triggering for you or what's inspiring for you. And figuring out, the hows and the whys, not just the whats of intentional change. Now, I know everyone who's here who's like, Elise, I thought we weren't going to talk about goals. I know. Either skip forward maybe like 5 minutes or just like bear with me. There's a reason why I'm presenting this. And it's just so that you understand why SMART goals are SMART goals and where they fall short. And if you do like SMART goals, or if you do want to understand how to make SMART goals better, I'm just about to give it to you. So a example of a SMART goal, and this is just, because it's straightforward and basic and easy, is to lose 5 kilos by the 31st of May, 2023. Now we are just in the start of February. So is this a specific goal? Yes, it is specific. Is it measurable? Yes, because you can measure your weight. Is it achievable? Well, if we're in the start of February and that's the end of May, February, March, April, yeah, 3 months, 5 kilos, pretty reasonable. Is it realistic? Yes, it's realistic. Is it time bound? Yes, it's time bound because you've got an end date. Cool. So that's a SMART goal. Let's move on. No. So the problem with that SMART goal is that it tells you what you want and when you want it. And then that's it. So you can set this goal of, all right, I want to lose 5 kilos by the 31st of May, feel really good about it. And then what do? You probably do nothing. And then 31st of May rolls around and you like nothing's changed. Why? Because you set a SMART goal, but really you might want to set more of a SMART goal because we need to know how you're actually going to do it. So if you want to lose 5 kilos by the 31st of May, 2023, well, how are you going to do it? Well, I'm going to strength train 3 times weekly. I'm going to walk every day. So make sure I don't have a day where I don't do some sort of walking. I'm going to practice mindful eating techniques. Cool. Is that enough? No. So it's not enough because you can still say those things and not do them because you don't, especially depending on where you're starting, which let's just assume people are starting from scratch, from nothing. They've never done strength training before. They don't have this built into the routine. So how to lose 5 kilos by the 31st of May by strength training 3 times weekly. All right, so how are you going to strength train 3 times weekly? What program are you going to use? Do you have a gym membership? Do you need a gym membership? Like, how are you going to get yourself to be lifting weights? Do you need a coach? Do you need a trainer? Do you need to start going to classes? So it's, again, asking, how are you going to do it? All right, how are you going to do that thing you said you're going to do? All right, how are you going to do that thing you said you're going to do, that thing you said you're going to do? So asking, like breaking it down about at least 3 times, the how, to actually understand this is what I'm going to be doing on a day-to-day basis, and this is how I'm going to get myself to do it. So again, SMART goals, if you didn't have the how, you don't get very far. But you still don't get very far with SMART goals. And so really, if you're going to go down that route, again, skip ahead if you don't care about this, you need the why. So I want to lose 5 kilos by the 31st of May, 2023. I'm going to do it by strength training. I'm going to walk a little bit more. I'm going to be more mindful with what I eat. All right. So, why do you want to lose those 5 kilos? Why do you want to choose strength training and walking more and eating more mindfully? Like, why do you want this outcome? Again, it seems really trivial, but without understanding the why of the action you're doing, you're probably going to forget not too far into the future. 1, 2, 3 weeks time, if you don't have your why deeply defined, you forget why you're even doing it in the first place. So say, ask yourself how you're going to do it 3 times. Ask yourself why at least, up to 5 times to get deeper and deeper and deeper, the deepest level or meaning. Now, when I started out as a PT, they taught us how to do client assessments and what we should do on an initial client meeting. And one of the things that really like made me uncomfortable, because that really wasn't like my thing, but they wanted us to basically get the prospective client to cry. And their reasoning behind that was they need to understand a client's the why that makes them cry, because it's, getting to that emotional level where it's really meaningful to them. Now, I'm not going to be a person that's just going to sit there and like ask somebody why until they cry. It's a bit weird. But the idea is there where you just want to understand, like, why do I really want to do this? Is it actually meaningful to me? Like, how, I don't know if I'm saying this properly, but like getting desperate, as in like, this is what I really want to do, not just to like, it'd be okay, but not really hooked up on it. I do have clients come in, they have some really meaningful goals, but they also have some really like goals that they're neither here nor there at the moment. That may change, but we don't really get hooked up on any goals if they're not really, here or there about it. Okay. So here we're back. So if you didn't like SMART goals, here we are. I want to change, but I can't quite define where I'm headed. Also known as goals as a concept are demotivating. We don't want to commit ourselves to getting this by this because of this. So let's change the way that we plan change. So here's some other words we can use if goals don't do it for you. And it's just about finding or picking the one that works for you, depending on your situation. Now, this is a fitness and health space that we're in. However, when we talk about goals, you could translate these into your career goals, family goals, life goals, craft goals, I don't know, art goals, whatever goals you have. It's the same principle. So instead of thinking about, I have a goal that I want to achieve, think about, hey, if you've currently got a problem, here is the solution I'm looking to achieve. Maybe I'm currently facing a challenge and I want to learn how to overcome the challenge. How about I'm in this situation and I want to get from one situation, sometimes we call it like a sad island, and I want to move to a better situation, or, like a happy island. Perhaps you feel this glass ceiling above you, or a limit, so something that you can't get past, and you want to push through it. You want to break the glass. You want to get somewhere else. And the last one is like a belief that no longer works. So maybe a belief that you've had for a long time, but suddenly you're feeling a little bit conflicted with the belief that you had, and sort of like the situation that you're in now. So either you got to change the belief or you got to change the situation. So which one do you want to do? A lot of people want to challenge and change their beliefs. If you think about, the last 10, 20 years, how many beliefs that you've had 20 years ago, do you still believe them now? Some yes, some no. So different ways of thinking about a goal or a problem that may sit better for you. It doesn't matter. It only needs to make sense to you, and it needs to feel meaningful to you, because this is about you. You don't need to fit into my mold. All right. So we're going to go over this quickly because I have presented this in the past. But if we think about it, because in the past, the word change has been the word goal. So now we're going to read it differently. Is this change right for me? Is this solution right for me? Is this choice I'm about to make right for me? So the plans that you have for this change that you want, like, should you be doing it, basically? Think about these things. Is it something you can control? Yes or no? Obviously, you can't change what you can't control. To a degree, like, I don't know, bad example, like global warming. Like, can one person affect global warming and climate change? Yes or no? Yes, you can do your bit, but is your goal to reduce the global temperature by 1.5 degrees this century? No, change your goal, do something else. Is it future focused, so only looking at ahead and not kind of trying to rewrite the past? Past is the past for a reason. Is this change for you? So making sure that you're not trying to change yourself just to please somebody else. Doesn't work that way. Does it align with your values and beliefs? And again, we're going to go through that in a second. So in short, no, I'm just going to leave it. We'll talk about it in a second. Do you believe you can do it? So you actually have to have a bit of confidence that this is something that you can achieve. Can you see yourself as that person in the future? So if you say that you want to, get better at tennis, can you see yourself on the tennis court willingly playing with somebody else, like actually just having a good time? Can you see yourself doing that? If tennis, improving your tennis game or starting tennis is something that you want. Now, what is the purpose of this change? So why are you doing this thing? Make sure that it's for a good reason. What problem are you trying to solve? It's kind of like the same question. Is this change right for me? What outcome are you looking for? How will it make your life better? So if there's something that you want, I would assume that it's going to be to make your life better, to not make your life worse. And how will it affect others? So both positively and negatively. If you want this thing, like, how is your ecosystem going to change? Is it worth that change? What else do you need to account for? Is this going to improve your relationships, or is it going to make your relationships worse? Are you willing to go through that? Yes or no? All right, so this is where I'm not going to repeat myself. This is where the 2021 and 2022, the recorded webinars, are going to come into full effect. So I will link those in wherever they send this. The 2021 one was recorded and uploaded to YouTube, I'm pretty sure. 2022, for whatever reason, I thought I needed to start doing Facebook Lives, and I rolled with that, but I'm not too happy with my choice. So one's going to be linked through Facebook, one's going to be linked through YouTube. I also have a confidence webinar, which was an absolute banger, so I'll also link that one below. But we're not going through these because I've already done it before and it was fine what I said. So if you want to understand any of these things better, watch the webinar. All right, so this is my 2023 version of, all right, goals aren't working for you. Let's focus on intentional change. So how would you create a statement, or how would you start rolling with actions to create intentional change? So the first thing you can do is think about things that you say that you aren't good at, that you can't do, all your wishes and wants but aren't currently doing. Easy example, when I was a kid, I said that I couldn't swim. That meant that I didn't really try. Another one recently was that, like, I had my first and only soiree with music, basically playing year 4 recorder, and didn't excel at it straight away. Wasn't really good at reading music. Didn't really, pick up a wind instrument so well, and did not try since. And again, so that's one thing that I want to change is, maybe I am good at music. Maybe I just didn't find the right instrument. Again, what do you say that you aren't good at? Do you want that to change? So for example, if you work on X, will it improve your health, or will it improve your finance? Will it improve your relationships? Will it improve your confidence? 100% of the time, doing something that you said you couldn't do before is definitely going to improve your confidence. So if you're really interested in improving your overall confidence in a certain area, or like broadly, doing something that you said you couldn't do is obviously going to improve your confidence. Now, you don't need to know all the benefits before you start. You can start on a journey and just see where it leads you. But you're going to have a fair idea of what a certain change is going to do for you. So I did my first drumming class yesterday. It was a djembe drumming circle. And I was really good at it, like comparatively to the whole group. I liked that I could make noises out of the drum. I didn't hit any too many offbeats. And I was generally okay. So suddenly that's going to raise my confidence where, like, what if I just end up in a room and there's a drum and I can just confidently beat out on it, instead of having the anxiety of, I don't know how to play it. What if somebody asked me to try? I wouldn't want to do that. So just think about, say this change you want to make, how will it improve your life? And again, even though I'm in the health and fitness related space, you copy and paste this into any facet of your life, it'll still work. Again, so you can have an idea of, if changing this thing, if doing this thing that you said you weren't good at, if you get it, you can kind of have an idea of how you'll feel and the benefits, but you don't have to know all the benefits to enjoy it. So an example of an I can't, you decide that you're not good at something. Ergo, you don't try it, you don't experience it, you never choose it. So that will result in a lack of confidence, and at worst, like an anxiety when you're forced to do it. Like if you just don't have a choice, and now it's going to be embarrassing that everyone's going to see you be really shit at something. And what that turns into is a lack of confidence and unwillingness, which filters into other areas of your life. So even though you may just be not confident at playing a musical instrument, it kind of does you start to retreat in other areas. So this is why changing that is so beneficial. So if you change it into an I can, if you learn the thing, if you do the thing, I can swim now. A couple of years ago, I would say I can't swim. Now I can. Am I good at it? No, but I am confident at it that it's not embarrassing. So in the I cans, you focus on the skills and actions that to improve a can't. You get better and you gain confidence. You improve your experience and you open up new doors. And in the end, this confidence gained and applied filters into other areas of your life. So you get confident in one area, you start to think, all right, what else can I do? So it's not just a linear thing. It can really open up a lot of doors for you. Now, number 2 is to live towards your values. Now, again, I'm not going to rattle on about how you create values, think about values, find your values. We've done that before. But it's just about, again, if goals don't work for you, how about thinking about how you can change your behavior and your actions and your lifestyle that agrees more with your values and does less that contradicts your values. It doesn't need to make sense to anyone except you. Now, the example there is, say, for example, a lot of people value sense of community. And then, so for me as a coach, I'm like, all right, well, maybe they want to train at a gym or start doing classes where they're hanging out with other people. And they turn around and be like, no, exercise is something I want to do by myself. I want to find community in other ways. So again, it doesn't need to make sense to me. It just needs to make sense to you as to how you start living more towards your values. Now, this is how I do it. In 60 seconds or less, Google Demartini values, do the value determination process, listen to his spiel. He's got like dyed dark hair. I don't know how much of it is real, but he's an interesting guy. Just let him tell you what your values are. I prefer that method because it comes out with your words. You use all your words to create your values, and you come out with the top 3. Now, why would you do that? It's because at this point in time, you might not know your values. The other way of doing it, which I do not recommend, don't even bother, is, you can just Google list of values and they'll come up with a whole bunch of words. But are these your values? And how would you pick 3 out of this? Because you might think that you like all of them. It hasn't actually gone through the process of how do you determine what your top values are, because you might like this entire list. My example here is one of my values is balance, and it appears on that list. But for me, balance is balancing all facets of my life, my work, my relationships, my own personal development, exercise, movement, that sort of thing. For somebody else, balance might mean something else. But so you don't want to get stuck into this prison of this is what they're saying a value is, or this is how it's worded. This is what I want it to mean. Another one of my values is movement first, and it's not even on that list. So what would I choose if it wasn't on the list? I don't know. Anyway, don't even bother with it. Do Demartini. Figure out what your values are. They're really important, because you may find that you're in either a sensation of conflict or congruence. You might be in some congruence and some conflict. Let me explain. When you're in a values conflict, it means that your values and somebody else's values aren't the same. And it makes it really hard to live in that way. And you just don't feel like your most vibrant, happiest self because there's some conflict going on. For example, and these are terrible examples, by the way, I don't know. Working a desk job when you don't enjoy sitting still. That was me a couple of years ago. I changed it. If you enjoy sustainable commuting, but driving to work is the only option, will you enjoy that commute? No, you won't, because you're not doing it in the way that you prefer. Sacrificing family time to work more. So maybe you value your family, but you have to work more to earn the money to support your family. That's a big conflict. Obviously, there's things that you need to do, but potentially it's not in the right way. And being budget conscious, but also being a smoker or drinker, where that's quite an expensive pastime, especially smoking. I don't know how much they are. It sounds like a lot these days. But again, you may not have always been budget conscious, but maybe recently budget conscious, or you might have had more of an income, but now you have less of an income, or again, inflation, everything's more expensive, and suddenly you're questioning how smoking and drinking still fits in with your life. So that's a conflict. Congruence may be like being a landscaper because you love working outdoors. You're going to be happy to show up to work every day. You grow vegetables because you want the freshest. Working for a company that shares your beliefs on sustainability. So they may just be any sort of company, but they have a recycling program and you're like, yes, that's great. You don't see, your colleagues throwing out plastic bottles and coffee cups. Everyone's got their, their own coffee cup that they've brought from home, that sort of thing. And living with a partner who shares the same financial philosophies, obviously that makes it a lot easier to live with them when somebody's not a big spender, quote unquote, wasting money, lots of credit cards, lots of debt, versus somebody who's very careful with their money and loves to save. Now, let me just quickly explain this. So value-based change. There's value as this is what I want to do. I want to be more congruent with my values. So I want to save more money, therefore I want to quit smoking. Quit smoking is that intentional change. However, you can have changes that you want, and you have to choose actions which also agree with your values. So they're just two separate things, but they all both involve values. Oops, sorry. So thinking about, say, for example, if you want to lose 5 kilos by the 31st of May, 2023, but you're a vegan, and you approach a coach because you want help, and they say, no, it's too hard to lose weight when you're vegan. Eating meat and dairy is the only way. Or that doesn't really work for you. That doesn't agree with your values. So are you going to do what they say and feel in conflict, or are you going to do it your way? So that's the difference between value-based change, changing your behaviors to agree with your values, but also choosing actions which agree with your values. Last one. So there's just 3 different ways to create intentional change, the fun way as opposed to the smart way. Step into the lifestyle that you want. So why are you not living in your desires? What steps can you take now to embrace it more? What that means is it's like everyone fantasizes or dreams about their ideal future. They've got a mansion. They don't have to work. They do recreation every day of their lives. But it's what they dream and it's what they wish for, but they're not actually doing any sort of actions which is going to get them there specifically. Or it's not really clear. My one example is, do you see yourself as being that older lady at the retirement village playing tennis as a pastime? Is that what you want to do? So what are you waiting for? Why aren't you starting those actions now? I rarely pick up a tennis racket. So if I want to be that old lady playing tennis when I'm 60, 70, 80, do you reckon I should be practicing now? I do. You can disagree, but I think if I want to be that person then, I should probably start doing those actions now. Another good example is the people that say they use happiness as collateral. So if I lose 5 kilos, then I'll be happy. What if you lose those 5 kilos and you're not happy? That's a very likely scenario that losing those 5 kilos is not going to do shit to your happiness. So how can you find sources of happy now? What makes you happy? Does losing weight make you happy? Or does fostering better relationships make you happy? Does having more recreation time make you happy? Do dogs make you happy? Do that. Don't just lose 5 kilos if it ain't going to make you happy. And start thinking about asking different questions. So again, this is a way of eliciting more of what you want without just asking, hey, what's your goal? So these are some really great questions that you can think about if you're a bit hung up and stuck on goals. So how can I show my body love this year? And you can replace body with how can I show my health love this year? How can I show my relationships more love this year? How can I show my career more love? How can I give more attention to this area of my life? What do I want more of? What do I want less of? Where do I feel lacking? So what are you not paying attention to? What do I want to be? What do I want to do? What do I want to have? Really great questions that doesn't ask, hey, what's my goal? So an example of how I showed my body love in 2022 was that I started 2021, I started limping and I didn't know why. And it hurt, it was painful. It felt like I was walking on broken glass, but I still enjoyed running and I had running goals. So it made it harder to run. I still, to a degree, did it. It just hurt for a long time and then it went numb. And then I was like, great, I can't feel my foot anymore, so I can keep running. Eventually, my friend encouraged me to seek attention. I don't know why I'm so resistant to it. Because she's like, Elise, like you could have like a fractured foot, like stress fractures, like go see a doctor. So I went to a doctor. I got an x-ray done. I went to a podiatrist. I got an ultrasound done. They diagnosed me with Morton's neuroma, which is an enlarged nerve in between the toe, like this part of your toe, basically. And they started doing therapy on me, lots of needles, lots of massage, lots of painful things, and a regimen. So do this rehab, don't run for a bit, do ABC. So I did the work and I reduced the pain to a point where it was more manageable more often. I got educated. So I joined a few Facebook groups about Morton's neuroma. I started Googling what the recommendations was. I started learning off of others. And a big thing, this neuroma still kept flaring up and it was really frustrating because it still made running painful like most of the time, was to change footwear. The podiatrist didn't tell me to do that and I'm a little bit annoyed, but big thing was, all right, change your footwear. You need wide toe box shoes. I was like, well, what the hell is a wide toe box shoe? Like you need barefoot footwear. You need shoes that are flexible. And so I was like, all right, well, where do I find those? Oh, they're really expensive. And then I started getting tips about how can I find cheap ones. This is example. This is the shoe that I need. This is the shape. They're usually really ugly shoes. And so that was something that I had to come to terms with, was that like I couldn't wear the pretty shoes because they were actually causing me pain. What do I prefer? What do I prefer? Fashion or function? In 2022, I chose function. I got rid of so many shoes and that was a conflict for me because I don't like being wasteful. Paid lots of money for them. They were in good nick. They weren't, they didn't have holes in them. They weren't damaged. They were fine shoes, but I had to get them out of my life because they were causing me pain. So challenge a lot of beliefs, but there was an outcome that I was looking for. So now I'm running and I'm moving pain-free. And let's say like I'm at 90%. Was when I started, I was like at 10%. I learned a lot about my feet. I've created new beliefs about footwear, and now I'm pretty much exclusively in barefoot footwear. I only choose footwear that agrees with my feet. And I've also joined a community where I can start giving out advice based on my experience. Yeah, so I've improved my mental and physical health because I'm running and I have less day-to-day pain. Woohoo! That's how I showed my body love in 2022. What can you do? So where do these points of consideration take you? So say, for example, like, what do I want to be? Maybe you want to change careers. What do I want to do? Maybe I want to run a half marathon. What do I want to have? Maybe I want to have more time for myself. Again, make sure you ask all those questions about like, is it for you? Is it going to make your life better? Is it only looking ahead, not looking behind? And then think about, all right, so where do these points of consideration take you? What is missing? What do you need in order to do the thing? Say, for example, like with this footwear thing, like, yes, I needed to see a podiatrist. I found a community. I did my research. I needed to learn more about my foot and why it was the way that it was and how making changes to my feet could agree with my beliefs and values about like, I don't like to spend lots of money on things. So how can I find cheap footwear that agrees with my feet? All these things. What can I do? Approach the person who's going to give you, or the person or the resource that's going to give you the answer or help you figure it out for yourself. All right, that's it. Oh, so quick. Yay. So be notified of monthly webinars. I'm trying to do these monthly. I'm doing my best. So this is February. So come back. We'll do one in March. I don't know what's going to be on yet, but if you have any suggestions, any questions, honestly, like email me, elise@yourmovecode.com. And I'm happy to collaborate with you and give you what you're looking for. So thank you so much for watching. It's been a blast. I'm just going to, awkwardly end this because I don't know how to do it. And then I'm just going to go back here. Hi. All right. Well done, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out. This was Elise from Your Move Code. This was Intentional Change 2023. Check out my other recordings from 2021 and 2022. They weren't that bad, and my confidence webinar. And I'm always happy to have a chat if you want to talk more about intentional changes that you want to make in 2023. All right. Live long and prosper.